They called it the perfect small-town escape, until one night turned it into a house of horrors. 4 people slaughtered inside Cabin 28. No forced entry, no mercy. And the killer, still out there. This is the chilling story of the Keddie Cabin murders, one of America's darkest unsolved mysteries. The year was 1981. Keddie, California was a sleepy mountain town tucked away in the Sierra Nevadas. Once a bustling railroad stop, it had faded into near obscurity, a rundown resort with scattered cabins housing families on tight budgets. Life was quiet, simple, and safe. At least that's what everyone believed. In Cabin 28 lived the Sharp family. Glenna Sue Sharp, a 36-year-old single mother, and her 5 children. They were struggling, but Sue did everything she could to keep her kids safe and cared for. Neighbors described her as hard-working, quiet, and private. But on the night of April 11, 1981, their fragile peace shattered forever. The next morning, 14-year-old Sheila Sharp returned home from a friend's house. What she found would scar her forever. Inside Cabin 28 were 3 bodies: her mother, Sue Sharp, her 15-year-old brother John, and John's friend, Dana Wingate, just 17 years old. All brutally murdered, tied up with electrical cords and medical tape, beaten with hammers, stabbed repeatedly, their throats slit. The crime scene was so savage, investigators described it as overkill, a level of violence far beyond what was needed to kill. But the horror didn't stop there. Sheila's little sister, Tina, was missing, gone without a trace. And yet, 3 other children had slept unharmed in a back bedroom, including Sheila's 2 younger brothers and their friend. They hadn't heard a thing. How could such a massacre happen without waking them? And why were they spared? The Plumas County Sheriff's Department arrived, but from the start the investigation was a disaster. The crime scene wasn't sealed off properly. Neighbors wandered in and out. Potential evidence was trampled, touched, or removed. Yet what little investigators did find was chilling. 2 bloodied knives, 1 bent from force, a hammer, tape and cords binding the victims, and signs of multiple attackers. Witnesses later reported hearing muffled screams that night, but nobody called the police. And then came the most haunting discovery. 3 years later, Tina's remains were found in a remote area miles away. She hadn't escaped. She had been taken and killed. The prime suspects? 2 men well known around Keddie. Martin Smart, known as Marty, was Sue Sharp's neighbor. He had a violent temper, and his wife later revealed Sue had been counseling her to leave him because of his abuse. The night of the murders, Marty claimed he was at a bar, but witnesses contradicted parts of his story. Bo Boubed, a friend of Marty's who had lived with him briefly, was a known ex-con with possible connections to organized crime. Rumors swirled that Marty confessed to a therapist that he killed Sue because she was interfering in his marriage. He allegedly said, "I've paid the price of your love, and I've killed 4 people." Yet, despite such chilling words, no charges were filed. This is where the case turns from tragedy to conspiracy. Why was evidence mishandled so badly? Why were leads ignored? Some believe local law enforcement intentionally covered it up. Bo Boubede was rumored to be an informant for the Department of Justice. If true, prosecuting him could have exposed sensitive operations. A letter Marty wrote to his wife was later found in which he seemed to indirectly confess. Investigators had it, but it was never acted on. Why was Tina taken? Was she the main target all along? Some suggest she witnessed the murders, and the killers removed her to silence her permanently. Every detail raised more questions than answers. For decades, the case grew cold. Cabin 28 was eventually demolished in 2004, but the story never died. Internet sleuths, true crime enthusiasts, and even retired detectives kept digging. Then, in 2016, shocking new evidence emerged. A hammer was found in a nearby pond, matching the description of one missing from Marty Smart's home. DNA recovered from the crime scene was tested with modern technology. The results? At least 1 new suspect linked to the murders. But as of today, no arrests have been made. The Keddie cabin murders remain one of the most haunting unsolved crimes in American history. Who really killed Sue Sharp, John, Dana, and Tina? Was it Marty and Bo, protected by corrupt officials? Was it a larger conspiracy tied to organized crime or government operations? Or was it something even darker? Something we may never uncover. Some say Marty confessed. Some say Bo was untouchable because of his DOJ ties. Others whisper Tina's abduction points to something more sinister, maybe even trafficking. But the truth? The truth lies buried in the Sierra Nevadas, and those who know it have taken it to the grave. And here's the scariest part. The killers walked free. They lived their lives. They blended back into society. So the question is, what kind of person could slaughter a family, abduct a child, and still smile at their neighbors the next day? Maybe someone you already know.